Thaumitakepi. Petagde wachekia mashipi. Eche manade wo pide wa kage eche hehan wochikide wachewa kekde. Uspeni chiapte. Good morning, everyone. Today we said a little prayer here. They asked me to recite it, and I was given tobacco. It's good medicine prayer. Prajuta washte wachekia. That's what we'll call it. And wakanthanka, good spirit or creator, wakanthanka. Give me a good day. Ushimara wo. Apeto kire washte makuo. Give me a good day today. When I am going to do today, what I'm going to do today, help me do a good thing. Dakota Ichamo Daya Ichamo Wachie. Tokashila Omakiao Pidamaya. Grandfather, Great Spirit, thank you. Tokashila Pidamaya. Pinana. That could be used a little short prayer for anybody. Somebody memorize it, you can just get up and say, Tokashila Apetugde Wachewa Kiewachi. Dako Ichama Wachinka, Daya Ichama Wachi. I want to do it right, just like what we're doing here. So what we're doing here, we like to do, and then you thank the Great Spirit. You said, Tokashila Pidamaya, you say. And that's it. Wana Uyushtampi. Thaumitakepi. Apetkide Chandima Kupana. Chandupa he iwogdagda wa chimpina heche ichamakte wa shichu iawaikte. Good morning, everyone. I've been given tobacco here and asked me a story of how the pipe was created. To my knowledge, from grandparents handed down and friends, was told in different ways, and the way I understood it was one time the Dakota people were camped and they were desperate in need of food. Hunting was poor, and they wanted to. They were hoping to find ways to get some buffaloes and other wild game. So one day 2 boys went out hunting, and they were riding on the hills, and they were looking, and here they seen kind of a little whirlwind coming. And one of the boys said, "Look at that whirlwind. I wonder what's that?" So they kind of stopped on their horses there, and they were looking, and that whirlwind was coming closer and closer. And as she come close, it was a buffalo, a white buffalo, and as it come closer, it turned into a woman, a beautiful maiden. And she appeared to them, and she stood there, and they were kind of scared. One was scared, and the other one was not. He kind of had bad thoughts in him. And she came closer, and as he had bad thoughts, she zapped him into dust. So he was going to run away. The one that was scared, he was going to run away, and she said, "No, don't run away. I got something to tell you." So he stood there, and she said, "You go back to your camp and tell the leaders that I'm going to come tomorrow, and I want to talk to them." So she said, "You go back and prepare a feast, and I'll be there." So he said, "How?" And he went back to the camp, and he told the leaders all what he seen and what happened to his friend. So they were all surprised, and they said, okay, well, we'll wait for this, whatever happened. So the next day they waited, and sure enough, this whirlwind was coming again, and here it was a white buffalo. And as it come close, she turned into a woman, and she come walking into camp in a nice white buckskin dress. And she had a bundle on her with her two hands. And she met with the leaders, and she told the chief, she said, right here I have a bundle. It's sacred, very sacred. I want you to look at it. So they opened up the bundle, and here there was a pipe. In there was a pipe, the tobacco, and other sacred things, medicines and that, prosciutto, all wrapped up in this bundle. So she said, with this, she said, I want you to pray. When you have trouble, you pray with this pipe. You smoke it. And you pray to the Creator, Wakantaka, and you use this pipe, she said, and I'll help you. And I'll always be back. She said, one day I'll come back again. And she turned around and left. And they said, as she walked away, she rolled over and she turned into a black buffalo. Next time she rolled over, she turned into a red buffalo. Next time she rolled over, she turned into a yellow buffalo. And the last one was a white buffalo. She went away, and as she went over the hill, and she disappeared. So from that day on, the pipe was brought to the Dakota people, and it was somewhere down, they said, somewhere around the Minnesota area where they hung out in early in the winters and spring. And when they were in trouble, they needed food or somebody got sick, they used the pipe. And as she told them, and always use this pipe and then keep this bundle sacred. So through generations, they say about 10 or 15 generations, this pipe bundle was passed down from person to person within that pipe keeper. And they said by 1900s, there was a person by the name of Elkhead, Hechakapa, Ichiapi, Elkhead. He died in 1916. He was the white buffalo bundle keeper, pipe keeper. He had a daughter by the name of Martha, bad warrior, Ake, Red Eagle woman. Martha died in 1936. Then the pipe went to her son, Eli, bad warrior. He died in 1959. Then a pipe went to his sister, Lucy, bad warrior. And then one day she passed it on to her son, who was 12 years old and who was Orville Looking Horse. So today Orville has the pipe and the bundle, and he goes around, he's a holy man, and he goes around and talks about the story like what I'm telling you, but he knows the true story and all the names of his ancestors. But he tells the truth about the pipe and how sacred it is and how precious that we must respect this pipe. And in order to get pipes, people had to go to the pipestone quarry in Minnesota to dig up the pipestone, red pipestone. And they used to, each guy that wanted to be a pipe man, prosciutto carrier, he had to make his own pipe. So he made his own pipe out of this red pipestone. And that's the only place it's in this world that's there. They said it was created from creations many years ago when there was a big flood. That pipestone quarry was there. And that's where that red pipestone comes from. They said it's the flesh of our people, the Dakota people. And that's the only place in the country where it is. So in the wintertime, when the Dakota people migrated, Dakota migrated up north, they go back in the wintertime and they hit around that quarry and they'd live there, and that's where they get all their pipestone. And with this pipestone, when somebody makes it, he has to take it to a holy man, and they have a sweat and everything with it, all the traditional stuff. And they go to a Sundance, and that's where he gets this pipe. Not anybody just gets a pipe. Some family members have pipe and medicine. They pass that on to generation to generation too. Like you say, for instance, like in my family tree, my grandfather on my mother's side gave the pipe to my aunt. So today my aunt must have passed it on to one of my cousins, I'm not sure. But that's where the family pipe is. And the pipes are sacred, and each band leadership had a pipe. And the story goes that Tatanka Standing Buffalo, had a pipe bundle. And when they come here into Saskatchewan, he was Christianized. The whole reserve was Christianized pretty well. Not all of them, just some. And he said, well, when out there we come to a new era in life. He said, like there's a new era in life, and there's some going to go to church now. He said, they're taking up the Jesuits' church, and they're learning the religions of the Wakantanka in a different way in English. He said, so now we don't need this pipe. So he took it, and they said he buried it on a hill someplace. So today, the Standing Buffalo doesn't have a pipe. There's individuals that got pipes, but the main pipe that we used to have, he buried it somewhere, and he didn't want to become a Catholic because they told him that he had 3 wives, and they told him he has to let go 2 of them and only have 1 wife. But he didn't want that. He liked his 3 wives, so he said, no, I'm not going to change religion. He said, I'm going to be the same. So as far as I know, and I reviewed an early census of the Dakota people in Standing Buffalo, and about 3 generations back, I'm the 3rd generation, 4th generation. My dad was Catholic. My grandfather turned Catholic and went to boarding school. And my dad went to boarding school. I went to boarding school. But my grandpa didn't take didn't get Christianized. He stayed the old way. He wanted to be an old warrior, so he stayed that way. And they claimed they had 2 wives. But I know one of them, my dad used to call her Grandma. But and one of them was his grandmother, and the other one he called Unchi. Unchi Tisti, he called her. Eh? So it wasn't really but she lived with them. She lived along with them. That's what they said. But we don't know if it's one of his wives or not. Maybe he had 2 of them. But I'm finding out who the lady was and all that. And we used to call her, according to the book, they call her Rachel. But anyway, since the pipe was gone, the Dakota people here on Standing Buffalo went into the religious church people, and we had a cemetery church down in the valley, but they couldn't dig because the water would come in, only about a foot. So the people were burying, they were taking their bodies and were burying them on the hills. And like right where my mother lived, I counted 15 graves. So we used to slide down that hill, but we'd dodge these graves and went through. And they were all there, and they're shallow graves. And they dug down only about 4 feet, you know. And the Indian Affairs never gave out coffins and all that, so they just wrapped them with blankets and they put them down, and they lay railings like this, side by side on a top like this, and then they put dirt on top, and that's how they made them. But years and years, when I was just a kid, say 10 years old, I still seen sticks, willow sticks, and pieces of cloth that the gophers brought up. You know, when they kick out the dirt, and they brought up pieces of material, so there's red. I seen red cloth. So that's where they buried some of our people, and then when they got on top, there was another graveyard, and I staked it out, but now that farmer is going around there, and I think he's running over them. You know, that's where my great-grandmother lives, the one I said they weren't Christians. They weren't allowed in the graveyard. So they made a church there, and they buried only Christians in the graveyard. And if you weren't Christian, like my one grandfather, I always call him Tom Whiteman, he gave me my Indian name in 1941. And he died in 47. But I was already 7 years old. I went to his funeral. And as I said, Indian Affairs, they just brought a truck of lumber and they just threw it out by the door and a bag of nails. So my Uncle John Goodwill made a coffin for him. And they just wrapped him up and they put him inside there, nailed it up, and they put it in a wagon and took him to the hills, and they bury him on top of the hill because the priest or nobody come around because he wasn't baptized. So there was quite a few that were in that age group that were never baptized. The ones that were mostly they didn't accept it. You know, the church, they wanted the old way. So that old way is gradually coming back, and Orville Looking Horse comes around every now and then, and he shows us, talks to the kids about the bundle. But one day I went to Manitoba, and they said he was coming, and they were going to open the sacred bundle. But I went there, and it said the timing wasn't right, so he didn't open it. We had to go to the Canadian border and see if he was going to open it, but he didn't, and he went home. But as far as I know, they say that bundle, that pipe stem was made out of a calf leg, you know, instead of wood. And they said it's getting brittle now. So he has that, and the medicine bag and the pipe bag, everything is very old. Could be hundreds of years old, and it's getting brittle, but that's how it's kept. It's just like the religions, they have sacred objects, and well, that's how ours is. So that's what I know about it. I don't have a pipe, but I know my culture and my language, and I understand the very importance of it, and I respect it. And that's what I tell my children and friends. I said that's something sacred. And just like with feathers or any other sacred things that we have highly respect of songs, and we chocha kide ota uyuha, they say that we have a lot of culture and traditions that's, you know, even the people, we cha, we is like a star, eh? So they make star blankets today, and used to, what I do is I draw buffalo hides and I make a star in the middle. And today that star is still used, and it's put on blankets. And there are 8 pointers, but I seen 7 pointers. So you got to be good at it, you know. But the colors, everything is highly respected. We were given colors and everything. But that's all another story. So with that, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. And Chandida Makua sa Pidama.
Yeah.